Well, imagine living in a country where yourself and your other half are now persecuted in such a way that you can't get a job, even though you're overqualified, that you can't get a place to live because, well, simply they won't give you a place to live. And you're actually going to have to move out of the country you were born in because of this persecution. Imagine that. Well, this is a person who's actually put a post, and this is not a person who's isolated on their own. There are many in this case, all right? It says here, "Hi ladies, we've thought long and hard about this, but myself and himself think it's time to fly the nest and live elsewhere. Ireland, unfortunately, has nothing to offer. Both have amazing degrees. I can't get a job in my degree because the sector isn't hiring, but is hiring." What she's basically trying to say there is it's hiring, but it's not hiring people who are native to that country, white people basically. It wants to be so diverse that it's excluded that person from actually being able to get a job in their field. And it says, if you get what I mean, "We've a deposit there for a house, but the banks are just finding something to pick at every time. I've lost all hope in Ireland. If I'm honest, it has let us all down big time, especially the younger generation. They have no chance. Can anyone recommend places to look into living that isn't 8 hours flight, or know anywhere living in places that we would enjoy living in? We want to be able to come back and forth when we can to visit family." Just imagine that. Imagine that level of persecution. Now, Ireland's had its persecution and it's had its troubles in the past. And, you know, for one reason or another, there were generations that fled Ireland going back many years ago, and they went to places like Canada, they came to England, they went to America, and went further afield. They went there because there was no work, no money, no food, nothing, okay? Now, Ireland's come a hell of a long way since that time. You know, it's literally, I mean, if you have a look at places that we're talking about, like Dublin, etc., I went there a while back. It's a beautiful place, but now it's being ruined. And the multiculturalism they have going on there, which puts everybody from outside of the country first on the property list, first on the jobs list, first on every other list. So much so, what you're going to get is white flight at a time than what you actually really need is people coming back to Ireland at this time to pad out the numbers and actually stand up for their country, because what they're having here is a country that will be demographically changed within 20 years so badly that if you got on a flight and you'd never been there and knew nothing about the place and you were blindfolded, when you landed at the airport and got out of the plane and actually got onto the main road, you would actually think you were in a country that was, say, for instance, India or Africa, not by its weather, obviously, but by the people that you see in front of your very face. This is being done on purpose. This is a systematic persecution of the indigenous people of Ireland. But the question is why? And this is a question that we actually need to ask ourselves now. Who benefits from it? Because it's not the Irish people. Who's funding it? And who has decided this? Because the Irish people weren't asked any more than the people, say, for instance, up in the north of Ireland are being asked, or Scotland, or Wales. And at the moment, it looks like, when you're going to talk about Scotland, say, for instance, Tony Blair's decided that that's going to be a dumping ground for more migrants. Have the Scottish people been asked about this? I'm guessing probably not. Any more that the Welsh people want it to be a refuge. What is it Mark Dreyford calls it? That it's a refuge for anybody who's been persecuted or whatever. Basically, he wants to turn it into a dumping ground. They want to destroy these Celtic places. Why? What have these Celtic places ever done to you? Well, the simple answer to that would be nothing. But that's what they've decided, and if you don't go along with it, you're a bigot. Well, I'm quite happy to be called a bigot. I'm quite happy to be called racist. I'm quite happy to be called any name you want to chuck at me, because now it's a badge of honour. And I mean this. Anybody who doesn't get called any of these names, if you've never been called a name in your life, then you are a walkover, you are a pussy, and you simply haven't asked questions that they don't want you to ask. So, try it. Ask why has there been a demographic replacement. Go and ask anybody in your local council or whatever, and see just how well that gets on. What you'll probably be met with is horror, and then you'll end up being called all sorts of names, and you'll probably be asked to leave. And if you don't leave, you'll probably be forcibly forced out of there. This is madness. What we're living in now is the early stages of, there's a name for it, let me think, fascism. That's what we're heading for. Anyway, lots more content. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and also follow me on YouTube. There are links to all sorts of stuff at the moment. I do live streams quite often where I have call-ins. You might want to call in and tell me about what's going on in your locality, but this is not good. Anyway, chin up all. I'd like to think we'll get this fixed if we all stick together, all right?